Hey guys, I'm Cassie Cameron, founder of Mind High Club, and today I'm here with Leonard Mattis, who's a mind trainer and meditation and mindfulness practitioner. And today we're going to unpack why is it so important to have a daily practice, and also what is mindfulness. So Leonard, why is it important to have a daily practice?
I think we're reaching a point in our culture where modern society is presenting us with a number of challenges psychologically, physically and spiritually. So I think the application of a practice allows us to become more aware of how we engage with ourselves and engage with each other and the environment.
Yeah, of course. And so with that, what are some examples of daily practices that can really assist with, your stress management, your mental health, your personal growth, spiritual development? What does that look like?
Well, I think the nice thing about the practices of meditation and mindfulness is they kind of allow us to access a inner stillness that kind of exists within us. And I think when we develop a practice, we also develop the muscle of awareness, which allows us to become more objective of our emotions and our experiences that we're having.
Right. And so, I know that the term mindfulness, people know, sort of, they've heard it around and about, but what actually is mindfulness? How do you do that?
So mindfulness, because there is a difference between meditation and mindfulness. So meditation is more about, how you develop your seated practice, which I think is the foundation of any mindfulness practice. But the actual meditation, mindfulness itself, is more like a meditation in action. Mm-hmm. So how are you bringing that stillness, that level of connection, that level of awareness to all of your interactions? So really mindfulness is about how you're engaging with your experience and how present you are with your experience. Mm. So where is your awareness when you're doing the things that you're doing? That's essentially the practice of mindfulness.
Right, so just to clarify, so meditation is actually the formal seated practice, but then mindfulness is how you bring that into your daily life. Right?
Yeah, so I always think mindfulness is meditation in action.
Yeah.
So how are you bringing your awareness, how are you bringing that level of connection with you during the day and your daily interactions?
Right, so what are some examples of how we can actually adopt that into our daily life?
Yeah, I think some of the more popular ways of developing a mindfulness practice is mindful eating, which is one of my particular favorites. So making sure you get at least a meal a day where you're really taking your time, you're not multitasking, you're giving it your full attention. And you're just taking your time to engage all the senses. You're engaging the smell, the sight, the touch, the taste, and just fully immersing yourself within the experience and grounding yourself in that moment. I find that's a really good practice that we can all do because it's practical, because we all eat at some point kind of during the day.
Yeah,
unless you don't, yeah. Or there's the mindful walking. So again, another practical application. We all walk to work. We all take our dogs for a walk. We all take some time in nature. So that's another opportunity to just slow yourself down, walk at a certain pace, engage all the senses, engage yourself within the experience, and use that tool or that opportunity to ground yourself in the present moment.
Right, so it's actually, instead of being on autopilot, it's actually living the experience, like being there.
Yeah, I think it's both of those practices. It's all about stepping out of the doing. Yeah. I think we've become a culture that just does so much because we think that's what it means to achieve. The term the hustle. You're just always kind of doing something to achieve something. So I think these practices are kind of almost turning the tables on what that means. Yeah. And what that means for us is that we're stepping out of this idea of doing and stepping into this space of being, which is an internal space, an internal stillness. And these practices allow us to access that space.
Yeah, awesome. But, so this sounds amazing, and obviously there's so many benefits, I guess. What would you say to someone, though, who is like, man, I really don't have time to meditate, or I can't sit still, I can't switch off, or I don't want to sit like this. Yeah. What kind of advice would you give them? What should they do?
I mean, the first piece of advice I give to someone, because I hear that a lot, I don't have time. You'll never have time unless you make time.
Yeah.
Like it's really, because there's always time, but you actually have to make time. So I think one of the hardest things that people struggle with, or one of the biggest things that people can often struggle with a practice, is the commitment and the discipline required to train the mind or to cultivate a space that quietens the mind. So you can always tell the students that are committed, because they're the ones that are kind of going, something has to change, I know that it's me, I'm going to commit to my practice. And then you can always tell the students that are not ready to actually commit to quiet in the mind. So there is a level of commitment that's required to develop the practice. But yeah, I mean, if you're struggling, I think you kind of ease your way into it kind of slowly.
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't, if someone didn't want to sit still and do a seated practice, I would probably lean them more towards the mindfulness elements, which is the walking, the eating, and just trying to slow them down out of the mind and into the moment. Yeah. Again, I think each mind is different, I think, and requires a different method.
Yeah.
So I think we've got enough there with the two practices that we can kind of personalise based on someone's individual needs.
Yeah, great. So not everyone has to meditate for an hour every morning or anything like that.
I mean, the amazing thing is, one thing I've realised as well is that developing the muscle of awareness is very similar to developing physical muscle. Yeah. So if someone was a beginner, we would probably only start at 5 minutes. But if someone was a little bit more advanced with their practice, we could kind of take them to 20 or 30. So similar to lifting weights, you wouldn't go in and lift 100 kilos immediately. So I think it's the same with meditation. When you ease students into it kind of slowly, it allows them to, one, develop good technique, and also to form a relationship with the practice where they're actually enjoying it and reaping the benefits of it. Because when you look at the benefits of a well-developed practice, I mean, they do cover all aspects of life, which is your spiritual, physical, psychological, and lifestyle. So when someone actually has good technique and starts to experience the benefits, that's when the practice becomes fun. Because it's actually affecting your life and benefiting you in many ways that you kind of go, well, I'm going to commit to this. And then people start to make time.
Exactly. So it's that initial commitment, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then after a while, you're like, hey, this isn't a commitment anymore because I just want to do it. Yeah. Great. And I love that analogy you have about, training the body, training the mind. It is like that. We sort of forget that. It's just building that up, building that confidence, that, skill. And it's really, really great.
Yes. I mean, so meditation is a skill. Yeah. Like any skill that we learn, it requires a level of practice, commitment, and a little bit of study. As well, and it's studying to really understand the nature of the mind, because when you understand it, it puts you in a better position to train it, or to cultivate that environment where you can quieten it down a little bit. Awesome. Well, super interesting. So thank you so much, Leonard. There you guys have it, the importance of having a daily practice.